The mountains stood tall and unforgiving, their peaks piercing the sky like ancient sentinels. They were both majestic and menacing, a constant reminder of nature's indomitable power. They cradled the village like a fist, isolating it from the world. The village was a small dot in the vast expanse of rugged terrain, a place where time seemed to stand still. Life here was a constant struggle, a dance with poverty. The villagers moved through their days with a quiet resilience, their faces etched with the lines of hardship and endurance. The air was thin, the soil even thinner. The land offered little, and what it did give was hard-won through sweat and toil.
The family toiled endlessly, their hands calloused and their spirits weary. Each day began before the sun rose and ended long after it set. Our lives were ruled by the rhythms of the sun and the seasons. We planted, we harvested, and we hoped for a bountiful yield, though the land rarely rewarded our efforts. 7 children, each a mouth to feed, a body to clothe. They were our pride and our burden, their laughter a rare but precious sound in the silence of our struggles.
The father, his back bent by years of labor, moved with a slow, deliberate grace. His hands were rough, his eyes tired, but his spirit remained unbroken. He carried the weight of the world on his shoulders, each step a testament to his unwavering determination to provide for his family. His wife, her face etched with worry lines, watched over their home with a quiet strength. She was the glue that held them together, her love a steady flame in the darkness. She held the family together with quiet strength, her hands never idle. Whether cooking over a small fire or sewing clothes, she worked tirelessly to make their house a home. They loved their children fiercely, but love couldn't fill empty stomachs. Each meal was a reminder of their scarcity, each empty plate a silent plea for more. Every day was a battle against hunger, against despair. The pantry was often bare, and the search for food became a daily quest for survival.
The children grew up fast in the shadow of the mountains. They learned to carry burdens, both physical and emotional, their childhoods cut short by necessity. They learned the language of hardship, the sting of cold wind on their faces. Their eyes, though young, held the wisdom of those who have seen too much too soon. They shared our burdens, their laughter echoing through the valleys, a brief respite from the harsh realities of their lives. Their games were simple, their joy untainted by the weight of the world, a brief respite from the harsh realities of their lives. Around a small fire, they found warmth and comfort, their spirits lifted by the simple pleasures of companionship.
But even in the midst of their struggles, there was a flicker of hope, a belief that tomorrow might be better. The candlelight flickered in the dark, a symbol of their enduring spirit, a belief that tomorrow might be better. As the sun rose over the mountains, it brought with it a new day, a new chance for change. The children smiled, their faces lit with the promise of a brighter future. Marriage in the village was not about love, it was a transaction, a means to an end, a way to ensure survival in a world that was often harsh and unforgiving. It was about survival, about forging alliances in the face of adversity. Families came together not out of affection, but out of necessity, pooling their resources to weather the storms of life. So when the daughter, barely a woman, was promised to her cousin, it was accepted with a resigned silence. She knew her fate was sealed, her future determined by the needs of her family, rather than her own desires.
He was a quiet man, hard-working and kind. He had a gentle demeanor that belied the strength of his character, a man who understood the value of hard work and perseverance. He offered the promise of stability, a roof over her head, a reprieve from the constant struggle. In his presence, she found a small measure of comfort, a glimmer of hope that perhaps life could be bearable.
But the mother-in-law, a woman with eyes like chips of ice, had other plans. She was a matriarch who ruled her household with an iron fist, her word law, her will unyielding. She saw the daughter as a burden, a drain on their already meager resources. To her, the young bride was an unwelcome addition, another mouth to feed, another body to clothe.
Her tongue was sharp, her words cutting like a knife through the fragile peace of their home. Her words like poisoned darts aimed at the young bride's already fragile heart. Each insult, each accusation was a blow to the spirit, a wound that festered and grew. Every day was a test, a barrage of insults and accusations. The young bride found herself constantly on edge, bracing for the next verbal assault, the next wave of cruelty.
The daughter, raised to be respectful, endured it all with stoic silence. She had been taught to honor her elders, to accept her lot in life without complaint.
The husband, torn between his wife and his mother, tried to keep the peace. He was a man caught in the middle, struggling to balance his duty to his mother with his love for his wife. But his efforts were like trying to dam a raging river. No matter how hard he tried, the tension and hostility continued to flow, eroding the foundations of their home.
The mother-in-law's venom seeped into every corner of their lives, poisoning their happiness. Her presence was a constant shadow, a reminder of the discord that lay just beneath the surface. The daughter, once full of hope, began to wither under the relentless assault. Her spirit, once bright and full of dreams, dimmed with each passing day, her heart growing heavier with the weight of her sorrow. She would often stand by the window, looking out at the world beyond, wondering if there was a place for her where she could find peace and happiness. The dreams of a better life seemed so far away, almost unreachable. Yet in the small moments she found solace. A kind word from a neighbor, the beauty of a blooming flower, the warmth of the sun on her face. These fleeting moments of joy were her lifeline, the threads that kept her from unraveling completely. And in the quiet moments with her husband, she found a semblance of peace. His gentle touch, his understanding eyes were a balm to her wounded soul. Together they shared a bond that, despite the turmoil, gave her strength to endure. She knew that life would not be easy, that the road ahead was fraught with challenges, but she also knew that she had the strength to face them, to rise above the scorn and find her own path. With each step she took, she carried the weight of her past, but also the hope for a brighter future. She was determined to carve out a place for herself, to find her own happiness, no matter the obstacles in her way. And so, with a heart full of resilience and a spirit unbroken, she faced each day with quiet determination, ready to embrace whatever came her way. The phone call came on a day like any other. The wind howled outside, rattling the windows of their small home. The daughter, her hands roughened by work, picked up the receiver. A stranger's voice, harsh and accusing, filled her ear.
Wrong number, she thought, her heart pounding in her chest. But the voice persisted, spewing insults, threats.
The daughter, confused and frightened, tried to explain, to disconnect, but it was too late. The seeds of doubt had been sown.
The mother-in-law, always eager to find fault, seized upon the incident with the ferocity of a starving wolf. The daughter's protests were dismissed, her explanations met with scorn.
The wrong number became a weapon, a symbol of the daughter's supposed deceitfulness. The mother-in-law spun tales of infidelity, of disrespect, of treachery.
The husband, his ears poisoned by his mother's venomous whispers, began to doubt his wife. The fragile foundation of their marriage began to crumble.
The husband loved his wife. He saw the goodness in her heart, the quiet strength that held her together.
I want to believe her, to protect her from my mother's vicious attacks.
But the weight of family, of tradition, pressed down on him. He was raised to honor his mother, to obey her wishes.
I'm caught in a web of loyalty, torn between the woman I love and the woman who gave me life.
He tried to reason with his mother, to explain the absurdity of her accusations.
Mother, please, you must understand, these accusations are baseless.
But she was deaf to his pleas, her heart hardened by years of bitterness. The pressure from his family was relentless. They whispered in his ear, poisoned his thoughts.
They keep reminding me of my duty, of the shame they say she has brought upon our family.
Slowly, inexorably, his resolve began to crumble. The love he felt for his wife became a flickering candle in the face of a raging storm. The whispers started subtly, like the rustle of dry leaves in the wind. It was almost imperceptible at first, just a few hushed conversations here and there, but it grew louder and more persistent with each passing day. They spoke of the daughter's disgrace, her inability to fulfill the expectations placed upon her by society and her family. Her failure to please her husband was seen as a personal failing, a mark against her character and upbringing. The news of her impending return to her father's house spread through the village like wildfire. It was as if everyone had been waiting for this moment, eager to dissect and discuss every detail of her downfall.
Shame, like a shroud, enveloped our family. We could feel the weight of the village's judgment pressing down on us, suffocating us with its intensity.
Her father, his face etched with a mixture of anger and sorrow, struggled to come to terms with the situation. He had always been a proud man, and this was a blow to his pride that he could scarcely bear. He greeted her with a curt nod, unable to fully mask the disappointment in his eyes. Her mother, her eyes red-rimmed from countless sleepless nights, embraced her daughter with a fierce intensity. She held her as if trying to shield her from the harsh reality that awaited her. Her touch was the only solace in a world that had turned cold and unfeeling. It was a small comfort, but it was all they had.
But even her love couldn't erase the stigma that now clung to me like a bad omen. It was a constant reminder of my perceived failure, a shadow that followed me everywhere I went.
The villagers, their faces a mask of feigned concern, whispered behind cupped hands. They judged her, condemned her for a crime she didn't commit. Their words were like daggers, cutting deep into her already wounded spirit. She felt isolated, abandoned by the very community that had once celebrated her. It was a cruel twist of fate, a harsh lesson in the fickleness of human nature.
I was once a symbol of hope, a beacon of promise for a brighter future. People looked up to me, admired me for my potential and my dreams. Now I am a cautionary tale, a reminder of the fragility of happiness and the ease with which it can be shattered. My story is a testament to the harsh realities of life, a warning to others of the dangers of falling from grace.
Her world, once filled with the promise of a better tomorrow, had shrunk to the confines of her childhood home. It was a place that had once been filled with warmth and love, but now felt like a prison of judgment and despair. The walls that had once echoed with laughter now seemed to close in on her, a constant reminder of the life she had lost and the future that had been stolen from her.